Welcome back to Ask the Attorney. We're here with Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm in Clarksville. And one of the things you do a lot of in your practice and do well is personal injury work. And a lot of people think of lawyers when they think of that. They think of car wrecks and tractor trailer wrecks. So tell us a little bit about that work and what you do.
Well, you know, car wrecks, there's so many lawyers. That's where the big money is. You know, I went to a Rolls-Royce reception. I asked the North American, you know, I've been around, I had a Rolls-Royce for 20 years, but I got invited to their reception. I said, well, what kind of guys are buying those cars? They're 600. He said, you know what we say at headquarters? I said, tell him. He said, the billboard lawyers. I said, really? He said, yeah. So that was in Dallas, New York, Chicago, Miami. So it's kind of interesting. So again, what gives the lawyer the cutting edge? So, you know, you've heard me say many times, loose lips sink ships. And what does that really mean? That means if you were involved in a car wreck, you don't have to get out and admit that, you know, well, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't this fault, because so many people are stunned and you're scared. So just be very, very careful on what you say and how you say it. I love to tell people to take photographs. Get photographs of the scene, because very shortly thereafter, if you can, and you can run some video, because someone can say, well, then they move the cars, and who knows? So we like to be right on the scene. If it's a fatality, you know, we like to get there as soon as possible. If you've got a family member that's involved in a car wreck, or someone's hit by a car, or it's a tractor trailer, and there's millions of things you can do immediately. And take the proactive approach. We create opportunity, we don't wait for it. And then if you say, well, I'm going to wait and see what the insurance company's going to offer, wrong answer. Because what you should do is get your lawyer immediately. It's the fear of the unknown that makes the insurance companies come to the table. There's a lot of tricks that a very skilled lawyer in this kind of profession can do. For instance, you say, well, I don't want to sue anybody. Neither do we. We just want to get a fair settlement for you, and if we were able to get a occupational evaluation on you and say, well, you know, you've got a 10% cognitive disability because a Vanderbilt doctor said that, we run the test, and then what does that compute over the next 30 years of your work? And you say, well, that comes up to $10 million. Well, whatever that guy wanted, we need to be able to pay for his report. And then you say, why don't we go to mediation even before we file a lawsuit? So there are insurance companies, lawyers there. Here's our case. And if we don't get it resolved, again, I'll tell you again, a lot of lawyers, we go to mediation and we know you're probably not going to settle. Everybody wants to settle. But if they're not fair, then we walk away. Be prepared to walk away. And then you may reset mediation again.
And what about documentation and making sure you keep, like if you go into the hospital and you've got medical bills or things like that?
And I always kind of like when you go to a doctor, you know, have somebody with you, because you can't think all the time about everything. And I like to be descriptive. If I'm having a problem with my eyes, you know, I start reading, all of a sudden, then we want to get your eyes checked. Tell the doctor. Let him refer you. You know, you have neurologists, that's a nerve doctor. You have an orthopedic doctor who deals with the bone issues, and you have the neurologist who will deal with your nerves. There's a lot of different doctors, orthopedic surgeon, chiropractor, and I like chiropractic care. You know, why do you like it, Kevin? Because so many people come back and they say, wow, they helped me so much. And so whatever, if they say you need to do physical therapy, do what the doctor says. Document. I like to keep up when I go to the doctor. You know, it costs me 30 miles to go to my doctor. I had to take off from work. I would keep up with my lost wages. And if it hurt our enjoyment of life, and somebody, well, I don't know what you mean. Well, do you have to get a house sitter to come in and clean because you're not able? Do you have to pay someone to mow your grass because you used to mow it all the time, but you've had this injury and it prevents you? And if you try to do it, we hear this quite. I can't hardly operate for 3 days if I overexert myself. Well, then tell that to your doctors and your healthcare. You know, I like a team. Team is always going to be one of our secrets and power. Where if we had an accountant, we had a lawyer, and we had a doctor, and we had a neurologist and an orthopedic, we had everyone, and they all agree this is probably the best course of action, there's power in that decision.
Yeah. And then a lot of people always ask about the statute of limitations, 1 year for personal injury, and how long do those cases usually take to litigate?
Well, let's talk about that. In Tennessee, it's 1 year, but I don't really like that. And you know, if it's a medical malpractice, there's other hoops you have to go through. Some people say, well, I know it's 1 year, and you say, well, no, you didn't understand it all, because there's an exception to every exception. And so what do I want to say? Immediately, if you realize there's a problem, talk to a lawyer.
Yeah, don't sleep on your rights.
Don't sleep. Sure. There's laches. That's a old common law term, and it says don't sleep on your rights. And what we like to do is get in early. We like to work with you all along the way. What is the status? What does your doctor say? And so, you know, a lot of people say, well, my doctor says if we don't get better in 60 days, 30 days, 90 days, that we may have to consider surgery. And so then you like to discuss, well, you know, what are the odds? Will this fix it or will it not? And, you know, because there is no guarantee on every surgery. Let me just make that real clear. And so sometimes we have to take a calculated risk. And I would say, you know, I don't really care if we're going to get a whole bunch more money. I want to take care of Amy first. How do you feel about it, Amy? And let's get a second opinion on a doctor.
And then how long do these cases usually take to go through the court if they go all the way through trial?
If you go to trial, you can be in it a year, you can go in it for 2 years, they can go for 3 years, and then even after we win, they can appeal it. And then we're on appeal probably another 6 months or a year, and then it could be appealed again. And they say, Kevin, I don't want to do it. Then that's why I say, get us in early, help us prepare the best plan, because we all want it over. We don't want to have to do the appeals, and we know you may need your money sooner than later. Everybody does.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize how long litigation can take, regardless of what type of litigation it is.
I always like a proactive approach. I always like someone who's got their documentation together. And, you know, we get into some problems. Well, you know, I didn't take off and go to the doctor because I had to work late. Well, that's going to hurt your case. Do what your doctor says. Pursue it. Advance on it.
And I know you were talking about earlier, loose lips sink ships.
Yes, and, they do.
You know, a lot of people also call in and they say, okay, I was stopped by a police officer. What should I do?
Yeah. Can I search your car? And the first thing you should always say is no. They don't have a right under the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It's our right against illegal search and seizure. So if somebody just said tonight, and they said, well, I saw a black Rolls Royce going down the road, and I think there's criminals inside, and I think there's drug dealers, and they pull me over and they say, I want to search. No, I really don't have anything to hide. And even when I was a young lawyer, I'll never forget, I got pulled over in another state, and the guy said, can I search your truck? There was nothing to hide, and I was trying to be nice to him. He might have got me for speeding. And, you know, I said, well, I'm a lawyer. And he went up there, and he said, what's in that case? I said, that's a case of Gideon Bibles. You're welcome to look at it. And so he had another young officer. And so I went to shake it. He said, I don't shake hands. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. And I was dressed in a suit. I didn't think I was that intimidating. But again, just be careful on what you say, because your words will be used against you. And if they come in and they try to read your Miranda rights and say, okay, now here's your rights, ask for a lawyer. Because what can a lawyer do? A lawyer can say, we're not making any statements, we're not taking a polygraph test, what is this all about? And that's even for Amy and I. If they came back and Amy said, Kevin, there's police at my house, they're calling, they want to talk to me, then you tell them to call Kevin Kennedy. And then I would call them and say, hey guys, what's going on? Well, it's been alleged that she did this, she did this, she did this. And I said, well, I'll talk to Amy and get back with you. And of course, when I get back, I'm going to say, Amy's not going to make any statements. You know, we just don't do that. And will Amy take a polygraph test? No, we really don't do that. And they said, well, why don't you? Because you don't have to. You know, if Amy said, Kevin, I don't even know who this gentleman is, then, you know, we can say, we don't even know who this gentleman is. Well, then they don't have the evidence. They don't have probable cause. They can't go get a warrant, and we probably kill it right there. And so many people, I even heard a lawyer once, and they were saying, well, this girl has made an accusation against this man. I'm telling you, go hire a lawyer immediately, because that lawyer can go talk to the police. What is being said? Mm-hmm. And they said, well, he took this girl down here, and you say, he's never taken that girl anywhere. And if you've got a videotape or you've got an audio tape, do you have one? No, we don't have one. Well, do you have anything other than this person's word? No. Well, then it's his word versus hers. I don't think that carries probable cause.
All right, well, a lot of good advice there, and keep calling that number on your screen, 615-737-PLUS, 737-7587. Now, the other thing we get a lot of calls about, and we've even gotten one today, is about wills. So tell us, a lot of people say, well, I just want to do a handwritten will. I don't want to use an attorney. And we, of course, always give the advice, use an attorney. It's worth it. Make sure that, your family later on is not sitting there struggling with your estate and having to deal with all of that.
I had an associate lawyer come, and they were wanting to interview to come with me. And they had worked for a wealth management law firm, a big one out of state. And I said, well, what did you learn? Because I always love to hear, what did you learn from that experience? And they said, well, the wealthiest people in this country always hire the best lawyers and the best accountants. Well, they're usually the most expensive too. So why would the wealthy spend all that money? Because they're worth it. And again, when we're thinking about, don't shortchange yourself. And again, just like if we took that will situation and you said, well, I want to do this and I'm going to leave, and we had $1 million estate with a handwritten will.
And you can have a holographic will or handwritten will in Tennessee.
You sure can. And then here's the other point that I see so many, and they come and they say, well, Kevin, Amy always told me she was going to leave me the farm. She always said that. And my cousin heard it. My mother heard it. Guess what? Everybody can hear it. And she declared it, but it's not legal unless it was in writing and handwritten. So if you got someone in that frame of mind says, hey, guess what? We're going to do it. Then you say, then let's do it right now. And we had another one once that came in and said, well, this gentleman wants to give me his house. And we looked and I said, because it was a house that came out of a subdivision, but it was the original. I said, you need, and it wasn't a subdivision, get it deeded, get it surveyed so there's no misunderstanding. He said, well, I'm going to let him put me in the will. I said, I don't suggest that. Don't do it. And he did. And of course, he met another woman, changed his will, and the person that came to see me never got anything. And so listen to your lawyer. And that's advice for me and Amy. And they said, I don't think you should do this, Amy. I don't think you should do it, Kevin. Okay. And I hear why you say that, and then I want to listen to my lawyers. I love my lawyers. Most people that have a lawyer, they really love them. And that's the truth. I love my clients.
Well, and keep calling that number at the bottom of your screen, 737-PLUS, 737-7587. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in a few minutes.